On this video mix, we are going to show you how to make a delicious chuck roast that is so easy, you will do it this way every time. Let's get started. First you need to confirm that the oven rack is in the center. Then you should set your oven temperature to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. We intend to prepare this chuck roast using the low and slow method. Using a low temperature over an extended amount of time allows the chuck roast to become extremely tender. Just imagine the succulent aroma that will fill your family or guests with anticipation. Now here's what makes this recipe different. We will not be adding any water to the pan before we put the roast in the oven. That's because all of the water this roast needs, it already has inside. Another thing that makes this recipe different is that it is so easy. Aside from salt and pepper, we will only use 4 ingredients, and one of those is the chuck roast. This beef roast recipe calls for 5 beef bouillon cubes, and sometimes bouillon cubes are difficult to open. Check out this easy way to remove the wrapping around bouillon cubes. Put the beef bouillon cubes into a quart-size Ziploc bag. Then take a rolling pin or a hammer and give them a good whack. Not too heavy on the hammer, mates. We don't want to pulverize the wrapper into the beef bouillon. To be safe, let's pour this into a bowl and have a peek. Now you can give it a close look and remove all the foil wrapper. The next step is to use this beef bouillon as a rub and completely cover the roast, like this. Next it's time to add the onions. It is best to slice the onions into large chunks. The onion chunks will reduce in size by the time this roast is finished. This is a good time to add salt and pepper also. This recipe calls for 2 cans of mushrooms. And I know what you're thinking, makes mushrooms in a can? You must be kidding. Actually no, canned mushrooms is the way to go. The fact is, if we put in 1 can of mushrooms and 5 or 6 fresh ones, by the time this chuck roast is finished, there would be no distinguishable difference between them, either in flavor or texture. So, let's do it the easy way. Okay mates, now you can pop this roast into the oven for 4 hours. And through the magic of video editing, we'll be back in a jiffy. It's been exactly 4 hours. Let's take our chuck roast out of the oven and have a look. Well mates, as predicted, there is plenty of liquid in the pan. The good news is that liquid will make some delicious gravy. We will scoop out the meat, mushrooms, and onions and transfer the pan to the stove top to make the gravy. Since we are using flour to thicken the gravy, we need to pre-mix it in a cup of water so it does not clump up. Let's add 2 heaping tablespoons of all-purpose flour to the cup of cold water and mix it up. With the pan now on the stove top and the burner on high, we can bring the liquid in the pan to a boil. Now let's add the flour and use a whisk to mix it together. It will thicken rather fast. Now that the gravy is nice and thick, let's pour it back on the chuck roast. Okay mates, let's put some of this delicious chuck roast on a plate with some mashed potatoes. And by the way, you may want to check out our video on how to make mashed potatoes in 10 minutes. Don't you agree with me? That looks delicious. Until next time, my dear friends, cheerio.